I've been informed that it's my fault.
But it's not Finny's fault.
It's not Finny's fault.
He's my baby kitty. I don't know how I'm going to read questions. He's purring. He's so happy.
He's a happy cat. He's not a very smart one, but he's a happy cat.
Wait, he's uncomfortable and I don't want him ripping my legs up. Anyway. You don't have to read them.
Oh, good.
What are you wearing?
Oh, it's that special time. I am wearing... time goes by, years and months and decades and eons, and parts just sort of drift in over time. And if I have some downtime or I'm waiting for something else to happen in the middle of the night or I can't sleep or whatever, I build a watch. So I built a watch. I built this out of parts. This is a 6139 7002. It is from 1973, or at least the case is from 1973. Isn't that lovely? Very happy with it. It's a lovely piece. I have it on a bracelet for a 6139 7010. It's not the correct bracelet for this watch, but it's so comfy and it's a really nice bracelet. Unlike a lot of bracelets from this era, this one is both light, is light, it is super comfortable, and it's actually quite durable. Those little teeny tiny little connecting links are pretty heavy duty.
I can't believe it's durable.
Well, no, it's because it's not made of, the connections are these little connectors aren't like lightweight steel. They're like pretty heavy duty, stamped. It's nice. Anyway.
I woke up early. Sorry, I'm yawning. Anyway, I'm wearing what I wore last week.
Still wearing the 6105 8009. Proof.
Woohoo. I don't know.
Not much else going on.
No, not really.
I can't really think of anything.
You've got a fuzzy.
Do I? Oh, well. Fuzzies happen to the best of us.
Yes.
Well, let's jump in.
Okay.
If you're willing.
From Super Cruise. Hi, Spencer and Sabrina. Question for next week. Spencer, when servicing a Seiko 6139 and 6138 chronographs, Seiko recommends turning the chronograph wheel over on a staking plate and depressing the backside, the clutch spraying with tweezers, and oiling the pinion near the pinion gear. I have always been somewhat reluctant to press down on the backside of the chrono wheel for fear of damaging the wheel. Could you discuss or demonstrate this oiling technique on 6139-38 chrono wheels during a servicing process? Many thanks, John.
I thought about doing that actually when I was busy rebuilding this, because the question you put in like a week ago. But I actually prepped a small video segment, and so we are going to have fun with the Seiko Technical Guide. So whenever I get these questions about how do I do this and how do I do that and that kind of stuff, I always say, go to the Seiko Servicing Guide. There's a couple of things about the Servicing Guide that are important. But first off, it's a great resource. So like this is 6138A, which is not what you're asking about, but it has lubrication guides on it. It shows a breakdown of how the casing is done. These lubrication stuff, it shows you the stack on both sides, tools that you need, things like the tip of the chronograph wheel and how that functions, which is really important. Again, and it shows you, all the lubrication marks, everything that you need, and you can see how it all gets put together. You can see the transmission of power. You can see things like this. This is how you lubricate the inside and the outside of the barrel. Lubricating the train bridge, pillar wheel, crown wheel, all that other kind of stuff. It shows you, again, it's a great thing to get. It goes over basic operations and how stuff works. And so it's not just a mash of parts you're looking at, you actually can get a sense of how these things function, which is really important. But to the specific question, we are talking about the chronograph wheel. Here on this page, this is the instructions right here for how to build your chronograph wheel testing thing that I showed earlier. There it is, see? Not just something I made up, I got it from Seiko. So we're going to go over here now. Where is it? Aha. So here's the breakdown of the chronograph wheel. How it's built, how the pieces work internally, there's the spring inside and all that kind of stuff. Center chronograph wheel tells you everything. Nice breakdown. So now we want to talk about, let's see, center chronograph wheel. Again, it talks about how it all works here, but the specific question is how do we lubricate it? There is your answer. You can see that the center chronograph wheel is upside down. It's being supported flat on a hole, basically, so you're not putting stress on the pinion itself, and you're pushing down. And the reason you're pushing down is that you want to get this fourth wheel section away from the pinion because you want to get lubrication in right here. That's the way you do it. And so I'll set one up just for fun. It's not cleaned or anything, but just it's not like you really have to honk down on it. You just put a little bit of pressure on it, put a little bit of lubrication on it, and then you're good to go. So let me get that set up. Okay, so we have here, this is what I use, because remember, we've got to have a little, basically an aperture for the lower pinion to hang out in. So here is there's a chronograph wheel. So I have this thing over here on the side, and I just drop that basically into one of the holes, if I can do this. Oh, I can't see what I'm doing. Like so. And then what you do is you get your, whatever your oiler is. Hang on just one second. So you get you get a pair of fine tooth tweezers there, and you're just going to basically grip this thing just by the gear there, the gear section. So you've got it here. Let me make sure that's where I need it to be. There we go. So you've got it, and you literally just press down a little bit, not a whole lot, and you oil right there. A little bit of 90-10, and that's about it. You're also going to want to oil right here. I always do. Anyway, and that's it. And that's the long and the short of it.
There's a cat here.
Yes, I see. And so that's the way you do it. You follow these things are great. They're great, like bedtime reading. You just leave them next to the bed. And, no, I think that every time, I think they're fascinating. Every time I go through them, it's just fantastic to look at. I mean, because it gives you all this wonderful.
Uh-oh. The light came undone.
Oh, no.
But now I have a cat on me. I can't move.
I'll be right back.
See? He's so cute. Oh, no. But Spencer scares him all the time.
He forgets who I am.
Yay, there's light again.
Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, these Seiko service manuals, I mean, if you have questions about how stuff is going, it's got all these troubleshooting things, like really fine angles and breakdowns of the things you're supposed to look at. It's an invaluable resource. Anyway, so that's how you do it.
Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this person's last name. Ivan
Mejia.
Mejia?
Mejia?
Mejia? I don't know, I'm sorry.
Mejia. I think it's Mejia.
Okay. Are those problems lubrication and balance with the 7S26C movements you mentioned at 3450 only to the 7S26C divers, or does it apply to Seiko 5s with the 7S26Cs? I have an SNK 805 with that C movement.
It seems to be something that really kicked into high gear when Seiko left the A's behind. So when they went to the B, which was a short-lived variant, and then to the C's, that's when it really started. You started hearing people saying, oh, my watch keeps running faster. I'm having problems with accuracy. And this is when people couldn't figure out the problem. This was when people started saying, oh, just take your watch and throw it against the wall to try to knock it. What?
I just remembered my dream. That you got your car going.
Uh-huh.
That you turned it on and it worked.
It's going to.
I had a dream of
It's going to. It's absolutely going to. Though it's I have to do a segment because it's amazing that the gas tank is bolted to the trunk floor. The trunk floor is pretty badly rusted because the guy left it in the wood for 36 years and water got in through one space in the rubber bead for the back window, so much so that it actually rusted a hole inside of the back gate, but that water just pooled in there. More than like half the trunk floor is missing, and I can't get the old gas tank unbolted to do the thing, so I'm just gonna have to remove the whole goddamn thing and drop the tank and the floor together and put a new floor in. Wacky.
Okay, now you need to answer the question. I feel bad.
Basically, once Seiko got into the seas, all of those problems started happening, and the sea balance is still this. Basically, 7S26C was reworked, redesigned into the 4R and the 6R movements, and the same stuff is happening. It happens in all those movements, and it seems to come and go. I'm actually just about to build a custom SRP turtle using a 6R movement that was one of these movements that had failed, and the guy just had me replace the whole movement. He said, I don't want the old movement back. So this movement that I'm going to rebuild had these issues hardcore, and I'm going to go through and service this movement. I don't know, night or a weekend or something else like that, and then we're going to find out. But yeah, it's everything after it's the C and forward.
Sebastian's coming.
Oh.
Charles music.
Okay.
From Christopher Hawkins. Just seeing this now. I have an SARG 009 with this problem. I'm going to get a replacement NE15 for it. I've already had the original serviced once.
The NE15 is it's Seiko Instruments generic replacement movement. It's the same thing as the 6R15s. And it's I've seen those brand new NE15s out of the parts house, out of the box, still in the plastic holder. I haven't even uncased it with those problems. I've seen them come right from the parts house with that issue. So even getting a replacement movement is no guarantee that it's going to work.
Slim Perkins. I collect custom knives, and one way knife makers sell knives is by lotto and random number generator. Have a monthly workload where people sign up on the list. You use a number generator to pick the 10 jobs that you'll do that month. Otherwise, people get super butthurt.
It seems reasonable to me, because I want to have like a batch of jobs in every month, and I don't want to pick and choose or pick favorites or any of that kind of stuff. I just want to say, congratulations, number 32, send your watch in. We'll go from there.
Okay. From Lane Edwards, hey Spencer and Sabrina, nice necklace in the last video. Well, I'm wearing it again.
Cool. Where'd that one come from?
I bought it off of Etsy.
Oh.
I like giant stones on things. Oh, I don't know what it is. I don't remember. I did know, but I've had it for years. Anyway, Spencer, should I sell my SSA 001J? I think Finney's throwing up. I'm gonna die.
Still with us, Finny? What are you doing?
He coughed up a hairball this morning.
Lane, he's asking about. He has the JDM version of the 4R37 slide rule watch, the one that I like so much. The main difference with his is that instead of the 12-hour dial at 12 being black, it's silver. If you don't wear it, then sell it. If you like it, then keep it. I don't know if you really want to get rid of it. Were you looking to make a mint, or just if somebody else wants one? I don't know. I think it's pretty neat. If you're bored with it and want to trade it for a sack of potatoes, I will take it.
I do have a sack of potatoes.
She does.
Should I keep reading the question then?
If you want.
Okay. I mean, I know that they rarely come up, but man, it seems like everyone's looking for one now. Also, we have talked about a 6105 8000 bezels and inserts and how they are not available. However, Harold at Yoboki's has both of them, and I have them on the way. Would you like to check them out as a possible option? I could send them to you for inspection to compare them with original bezels.
Absolutely not, because I'll order my own. I will write Harold and I'll get some in, because that he's making those is a stroke of genius, because it's one of the most important parts that was extremely hard to find. The only thing, Harold, if you're watching, I don't think you are, but if you are watching, what you need to produce is the crystal retaining ring for the 60105 8000s. There's basically that ring is only for that watch model, and they're impossible to find, and they tend to crack and be useless. So you're either in luck or you're screwed. I've been able to make a replacement by machining down rings for other watches, but it's not ideal. So those need to be made. And thank you for letting me know.
He didn't throw up, if anybody cares. From Julie Hill, money being rich certainly takes the sting out of being poor. Yes.
As my dad used to say, he used to quote some lady that he knew when he was a young girl. and he always used to, and she apparently said, I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is better.
I never heard him say that.
Oh, really? It's a constant in my life. It's one of the things you can put on a t-shirt from my dad.
I never heard him in however long I knew him.
He always goes like this.
Yes, he always did that. Okay. From Julie Hill again. I have black and white photos of my dad sat looking very, very cool and hip on his BSA Gold Star 1960s. He was a mad keen motorcyclist. It skipped a generation with me, but my son has a thing for speed. Too dangerous motorcycling in the UK now. Roads are atrocious in condition and we have crazy congestion. I think the really, really good modern bikes have come too late. Real pity high performance motorbikes weren't around when the roads were quiet and empty.
The reason I put this question up there is because you reminded me when I was a kid and we were living in England still. I remember because we lived in a tiny village, and I remember the roads, the little lanes around there were so small, so thin that you'd be on these little English cars. My dad had a Hillman Hunter estate. That you would have to, there were actually pullouts. You had to go to a pullout if somebody was coming the other way. But I just remember that we almost never used those pullouts because there was no traffic. It was so quiet. I can't imagine. I look at updated like Google Street View things of our village every now and then, and I'm just, it's amazing. I mean, houses are going for like £2 million or 2.5 million pounds. And they're little teeny tiny little cheese boxes. And it's like all the big farms around there are being turned into developments.
Hey, it sounds like here.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Like the Wright's farm. I mean, when we were there, I mean, Mr. Wright, they had a sheep farm, and I helped with lambing one year. But it was just nothing but grasslands, and it's being turned into a big ass development. Mr. Wright's eldest son sold the place off. What are you gonna do? Mr. Wright, he was a funny guy. I remember once I went over there. I would have been like 12 at the time, and he had a son the same age as me. And I don't know, he had this huge old stone farmhouse. Like to ring the doorbell, you pulled this ceramic knob by the front door, and it rang. Cable went to the kitchen where it rang bells in the kitchen. But anyway, we were banging around in the house, and to get us out of the house on a rainy, cold Essex winter day, he went to the big glass-fronted cabinet by the front door and pulled out 2 antique shotguns, loaded them, gave them to myself and his son, and sent us off to go play.
That sounds like something somebody would do here.
I tell you, and the gun that I used apparently went with Scott to the pole.
What?
An English explorer went to the South Pole.
Oh.
And this gun, which was this heavily tooled, like master-crafted, double-barreled shotgun, apparently went with him, and he just handed it over to me, 12 years old. Oh. I lived through the experience.
Obviously. I can't imagine Sadie with a shotgun.
Here, Sadie, here's a shotgun. Go have fun. Okay.
Okay, from Astrobusa. Great no-nonsense video. Thanks. I'm intrigued as to how you get into the MM300 case. Perhaps one day you could either explain or video the process. Thanks again.
It's pretty simple, actually. The Marine Master 300, you have a case knife. You pull the rotating ring, the bezel off, and then you're looking at the crystal. These are actually kind of cool because they have two screw downs. They have one screw down that holds the crystal. Crystal's basically a cartridge in a cartridge, and that cartridge is in another screw down ring. So you go to the outer screw down ring and you just put your case tool, your case press on it, and there it comes.
Doesn't it require a special thing?
Nope.
Uh-oh, Sebastian's outside the window.
He's laughing at us.
Okay, from Dougie Doug 007. I just picked up a 558 5009 at the flea market for $45, missing the shroud. What?
He picked up an Arnie for $45.
Case holes for shrouds has plugs instead of screws. No place to apply a screwdriver. Was thinking someone cut screw heads off, but polished like case. Can you tell me what I have here? I would like to add a shroud. Thank you.
I was mentally imagining what you were describing. I can see it. What you're going to need to do is basically, you have to drill at the center of those screws where they are. If they got, hold it out, and then what you do is you get an extractor. It's a reverse twist, teeny tiny drill bit, and you get it in there. And then what you do is you heat up that section of case. Everything has to be stripped off, so it's just metal. You heat up that section of case to get the metal to open up a little bit, and then you can use your extractor, and you should hopefully be able to get it to go back. The hardest thing is going to be drilling a hole right in the center, but you can do it. It can be done.
I'd be scared to do that.
It'd be tough. It's a lot easier if you have a drill press, which I don't have, but I should have.
I'm not buying you a drill press for Christmas.
I need a TIG welder first.
I don't even... You told me what that is. I don't know what it is.
Sparks, guy with the helmet.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, I thought that was just a... I don't know. I'm going to continue on. From John Boy of Alaska. Spencer and Sabrina, thanks again for the videos. Watching your recent 6309 restoration, I saw your balance cock holder, the Bergeron 2769. Where can I get one of these? Being a rookie, this tool would help a lot when I mangle and wreck balances and hairsprings. Oops, I mean practice working on the balances and hairsprings. My track record is 1 out of 3. I bent a Timex hairspring, broke 2 stud holders on a Plot 2209, and successfully adjusted an old child. Any ideas where to get one or a modern replacement? Thanks in advance for doing all you do.
Yeah, I would look up Bergeron balance holder and see what you can get. You're going to get results for a balance tack, which is something different. That tool I just found on eBay. Because I always, not so much anymore, but always looking for watchmaker estates and looking at different tools. And it was a tool thing that I knew of, but then I saw it and I was like, there it is. And I got it. And it was, I don't know, I paid like $20 for it, I think. I think they'd probably go for a lot more than that, but yeah.
Dale Taylor Jr. I watch all your vids and love these weekend reviews. I'd love to be able to order a shirt one day. You should contact www.bunkerbranding.com for your swag. They specialize in YouTube channels and have a few very successful channels themselves. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're down. We definitely want to do it. So, yeah, absolutely.
I'll look after this.
Okay.
From Manster SR.
Okay.
I like the VW taillight assembly behind you. That is no longer behind us.
That is no longer behind us. I know where it is, but...
1966?
1963.
Oh,
but, I mean, they're the same.
What was so ugly and horrible about the 70s other than the Vietnam War? I was young enough that it didn't concern me, so I had a blast. Wish I could go back.
I don't know.
I wasn't there at all, and I've looked at pictures, and it was pretty freaking ugly.
Everything
like, the polyester and the gross floral, like furniture. I'm imagining maybe like a Sears catalog of the people sitting at a cocktail party on this like couch that's gold and that 70s orange and maybe has some avocado green on it, and the dude has his shirt with the pointy collars that's slightly open so his chest hair's out.
My mom had like metallic gold and brown shag carpeting in the main thing with like these like heavy brocade curtains that were like this mix of like avocado gold and brown, and she had a big couch that was like sort of off-white with all these different colored flowers all over it, and then she had a coffee table that was handmade out of 2x4s, and the entire outside had been covered with scraps of leather tacked in place. You remember that table? Yeah. So the whole thing was like covered with leather, and it's like it was the era that you were supposed to figure out how to be able to cook everything in a microwave, and it's like everything was polyester, these horrible hot sticky shirts with gigantic collars, and wearing tough skin jeans, and everything was shitty, and cars were terrible quality, and
What?
The political what?
What's them?
Well, no, because the emissions in the United States, you have you ever look at like a 1975 or 1976 Thunderbird or an LTD, they're so ugly, and they drove like diseased marshmallows, and they were just, I don't know, everything.
I guess I'm thinking about early 70s.
Even thinking about it makes me ill.
Still?
Yeah.
I thought you got over it.
I
Music wasn't bad.
No, music wasn't bad, and if you were in the right place, you'd get some good stuff going. But out here, I don't know.
Going the Rocky Mountain way.
Rocky Mountain Way, man. He was here, and he said, that's what we're doing.
Okay, from Last Nine Breaker. Spencer, I would be grateful if you could use this in your next mail call. Well, we are.
Here we are.
I have done weeks of exhaustive reading of vintage Seikos, and your older videos have me curious about something. You've always had high praise over simple 7005 movements. Even though they are low joule count, how would you say their toughness or tenacity of a movement stacks up to higher joule movements like the 5106, 8306, or 4402s? Also, what is your opinion between the difference of a 5106 and 8306? My understanding is that they are both high quality with a fully functional joule count, but the only difference is the 5106 has more parts. Which do you like better?
The 7000 series, their trains are fully jeweled. If they had jeweled mainspring arbors top and bottom, they'd be amazing. They're a simple movement. They're very strong. They're extremely reliable. An untouched 7005, if I freshly service it, it'll in terms of accuracy and durability and dependability, it will blow one of the new 4R or even 6Rs away. I mean, Seiko talks about the 6R having a 50-hour power reserve. Well, that's great as long as it's, too bad it's not going to run accurately. I'd rather have 45 hours with a 7005 that keeps time, accurately, and I can depend on every time I look at it. The 5000 series Daini and the pre-Daini Sua 8300 movements, they're beautifully made. They both have the reduction wheel style, Swiss style automatic winding, a lot more parts, but they're not super complex. Of the two, I don't know, the 5126s, they're cool because Seiko did a lot with them, a lot of dress watches, a lot of sport divers, and you can still find them. The 8300s, they never made it out of the 60s really, and that whole movement family was sold to Orient, I believe, and so Seiko never did anything with them. And they're a lovely slim movement. They could have made a great diver with it, but they just didn't. They're all lovely movements for different ways. And like the 8306s has jeweled mainspring arbors. So I guess that's probably going to be my favorite. But for pure dependability and reliability, take a 7005 or 7006 any day of the week. Though I did just service a 5126, and man, it gave me great numbers, like right out of the box. It was in the 260s, 270s, just like that.
I wasn't listening. Sorry.
Not a surprise.
From John Cash. I am in the process of buying a white helmet and expect to get it for around 120 pounds sterling. Could you tell me if you have a film showing how to strip and clean one, please?
He means a white helmet, which is a 6139 7100.
I thought he meant literally a helmet.
It's the only thing that people really know about the white helmet is that people prefer the black one. The white helmet, Al Pacino wore one in a movie that no one remembers from the early 70s. Even I don't remember. Something about a race car driver. I don't know.
I never saw it.
And he has pictures. It's on his wrist when he's like in bed with his girlfriend or something. It's just one of those things. When you say strip and clean, what do you mean? Do you mean like clean the outside? Do you mean like a full restoration? I guess I'd need to know what you were curious about before I could start figuring out how to answer.
And he's not going to show a full restoration.
It's so long. It takes somewhat.
And it's a tutorial.
Yeah.
I'm amazed you show what you do.
I don't show the really super crucial important stuff, mostly because I'm right on top of this stuff and I'm not going to stop. And it adds a lot of time for me to make even just those little videos I do. And time is something I don't have a lot of. The only thing I worry about showing people how to do stuff is that I'm going to encourage people to try something. They're going to jack their watch up. And that's the only thing. It's like, I've made a lot of mistakes in my
Well,
time.
that's the only way they'll learn is if they screw up.
Yeah, but they don't have another movement in the drawer to say, oh, well, I screwed that one up.
Well, that's their own problem, not your problem.
I guess. Hi, Feeny.
From Ella Bay Forever. Just a note to say thanks for your video on the Stargate version 1.
Yeah, the first gen Stargate.
Just scored one absolutely mint with a... What's Vinny doing? With a box and papers, and glad you talked me into it. Now I can see it in person. Great content and love your passion, mate. As someone who repairs fishing reels, I understand your love for restoring these watches. Cheers, Russ.
Yeah, they're great. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you found an original one. Boy, it was wild. I remember back in the day when they were first out, you could get them on Amazon for, gosh, they were so cheap. I mean, they were usually like $150, $160, and you could get all of the different varieties. And there was all this hullabaloo. Oh, they're going to be canceled. They're going to be canceled. Then they were, and then they just kind of vanished. Like, people don't talk about the Stargate anymore.
I don't remember when it was a big deal.
That was 2011.
Oh.
They started being actually produced in fall 2010, and then then 2011 was really the big time of the Stargate.
Look, it's a kitty. Sorry, I love my kitty. I don't speak Japanese, so I
don't know I'm sorry, we can't read kanji. I apologize.
I am a big fan of Seiko 7A38. I am eager for a 7A38 6020. Where can I buy one? Thank you for your help.
You could try Watch Recon. You're going to have a better chance with those. Those are cool. You remember the brown Giugiaro chronograph? It was all brown and black with orange highlights. We had it for a long time, and then we sold it. It had a big rotating ring on it. Every time I showed it to you, you were like, you always made a face. They're super cool. They're limited edition. They're rare. They really didn't come to the United States that often. There were two versions. One was PVD, coated in like a brown black, and the other one was blasted metal. They're cool. Try Watch Recon. You might, honestly, if you're in Japan, having better luck on Yahoo Japan. Sorry, that's not a great answer. You're just going to have to dig.
From Aaron Sternke. I've got a 6139 question. Just got an all-original 6139 7020. Is there a fundamental difference in the movement between a traditional seconds hand and a chronograph seconds counter? I've noticed that the minute hand on my watch is relatively accurate, but if I keep the chronograph running, as you recommend for column wheel chronographs, it isn't as accurate long-term, and it doesn't necessarily sync up with the minute hand after a few hours. Is this normal, or is there something wrong with my watch? Thanks in advance.
I'm not 100% clear on what you're talking about. If you're talking about that the chronograph hand doesn't match the timekeeping of the hour and the minute hand, then the clutch on your chronograph wheel is slipping. And that's sort of a precursor. When they start to fail, that's one of the things that they do. If the whole watch is slowing down when you engage the chronograph, I would suggest that the watch probably needs service. That's something when you see any difference in running condition between chronograph running and chronograph stopped, because once they're serviced, they should have the exact same amplitude and accuracy. If you're not seeing that, then the watch needs service, basically. Once I see that that's what's up. Something is wrong with it. Like if the jewel in the chronograph bridge is out of place and the clutch isn't getting full separation, or if the operating levers aren't right, it needs to be serviced.
From Pavian Plugs. Hello, Spencer. Nice work on this one. Could you share your cleaning process from battery leaks? Working on some here and could need some more insights on it.
Battery leaks are tough because you've got to neutralize the acid. So you go the other side, you use ammonia, which is a weak base. But a lot of the time with acid, you have to use finely pointed pegwood and pick the stuff out, pick all the acid crystals out as much as you can, neutralize everything with ammonia, and just clean the ever-loving heck out of it. If you have battery acid in the circuits, you're done, because it gets into it gets corrosion with all the contacts inside, like the CMOS, and ow! and that's all. Then you're done.
Cat is stabbing him.
You got to neutralize the acid. Physical removal, neutralize, and then clean. But boy, battery acid can do amazing damage.
From Jack the Cat, complain. About what?
Bitch, great moan. It was about I don't know. It was on the 6139 video I just did.
What were you complaining about?
I don't know. Honey, I'm Gen X. Nobody understands. Nobody listens. Nobody cares.
No, we both complained so much. My mother said we were meant for each other. Though he's worse than me. What?
Hey, wait. I've got a new complaint.
From Nacho Valenti, it's so relaxing to see your videos, and I would like to have your knowledge and patience. Good job one more time. Congrats, Spencer. Patience?
I'm not a particularly patient.
No, he's like super not patient.
I'm not a patient or a relaxing person to be around, so maybe it only works when I'm in flow and working on a watch, because then I can disengage my brain. Trust me, I have a real talent for wearing people out.
You would just have a limited amount of patience.
I do. I have a limited amount of patience, especially. It was always a big problem with me in corporate when I'd be trying to get a team or people to do something, and I just lose patience and I just do it myself, which is wrong.
Yes. From WatchNut, can you think of any reason for using super glue in a watch?
It can be used when you're gluing in, when you want to have some. When you're putting a stem in a crown, because the thing with it is it's relatively quick hold, but it will release with heat. Those, cyanic adhesives are not a great idea because they're pretty volatile, but there are, Seiko uses adhesives in certain places, like the crowns. The crowns on the 6105s are glued to their stems. They're to secure them in place. So not super glue specifically, but, there's a time and a place for everything, I guess.
From James Bond. Wait, you couldn't tell if this was an AM dial in hands? Man, these AM dials are getting crazy good. Keep up the great work.
No, this is that 6012. No, of course I knew that they were aftermarket. I don't know how anybody could say that they weren't aftermarket, but I did a lot of work on the watch, and it was a great runner. And the customer specifically wanted to leave it the way it was with the aftermarket dial in hands. And he knows about it and I know about it, and there's no point in dwelling on it because it is what it is. He likes the way it looks. He's excited to get it back. Everything is clean and it's a great runner now. I could tell that those are aftermarket hands in the dark with my eyes shut. Mail's here.
Yeah, I didn't get my packages wrapped. Sorry, world.
Yeah, this is a last comment.
Ow!
There have been a lot of people have, for some reason, everything goes in waves, and for some reason, a number of people have been finding the video about the MACV SOG Vietnam Special Forces watches, and this is a comment from Ed Kane. I bought mine, talking about one of these MACV watches, I bought mine while on R&R in Penang, Malaysia in 1967 for like $45 to $50. Dials were so luminous in the jungle, my squad mates would ask to borrow it while on 1 hour perimeter watch at night because numerals were so easy to see at night and it was easy to remind them when their 1 hour was up. It lasted through 6 months of jungle warfare and heavy weapons infantry and about 23 years of civilian life. I went to Rich's department store in the early 2000s. Salesman asked me where I bought it after I told him he offered to buy it for me for $125. I refused the offer. He went up to $165. I sold it to him, and I bought another similar to it with a I'm not sure what this word was supposed to be. It said that the ones purchased in Malaysia or Japan had more jewels. Than the ones Japan sent here to be sold, and there were no special markings saying they were recon or so operations. All Seiko watches have crack-resistant crystals. Mine, even though it was starting to lose time, when I replaced, had a crystal intact, not cracked. Man, he wanted to buy that because you told him about its combat history. Boy, I wish you still had that watch. A guy just wrote me on Instagram that he found that video about the MACV, and he and he was like, wait a minute, what? And he went into his late father's things, who was in Vietnam, and he realized that a watch that was on the edge of being thrown out was in fact his father's service watch, one of these Mac V ones. His father was a dog handler in Vietnam in combat, and he had one of these watches, and the guy was just beside himself. He couldn't believe that he had this thing. He never really talked to his father about the history of the watch, but now he knows more. I wish you should go and find that salesman and see if you can get your watch back. But that's a great story. Thanks for letting me know. Because I've had people talking about the luminous nature and how they glowed. I've had people say, "Oh, that's not true." Because one of the things I've heard is that guys liked these Seiko watches because they could read them at night. They were luminescent, and I've had blowhards say, "Well, nobody ever wore luminous watches in combat because you'd get targeted by snipers." And I was just like, "What a blow it!"
Everybody loves a blowhard.
Everybody loves a blowhard. So anyway, there you have it from at least one horse's mouth that his squad mates would borrow his glowing watch when they were doing perimeter at night during jungle warfare in Thank You Finney in 1967. Well, we lost the light, and that's about it. That's about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to put out a personal plea. There's a watch model I just became aware of, but I need to refresh myself on its history real quick, and then I'm going to come back and I'll talk about it a little bit. I don't have one. I want one. But no, they're neat. I never heard of the thing before.
What is it?
It's an old, much older glycine model. It's a 7750 base movement, but it's called the I can't remember, Ningaloo Reef something or other. It's a...
Okay, well then let's go, and then you can come back, but I won't be here.
I really want one.
I'm not buying it for you for Christmas.
No. The problem is you can't find them.
Oh.
A guy had one for sale on Reddit like 5 months ago. He sold it for $350. There's a couple on eBay, but they're asking like $1,300, $1,400. They're not worth that. But it's really cool. They're a 40 millimeter watch with a really kind of old school like pilot chronograph, but a very clean. That doesn't have all this crap everywhere. It's very simple, very stripped down. They're relatively thick because again it's a 7750 movement, but they're really neat. And I just saw it and I was instantly like, ugh. And if I could, the guy sold his for $350, and I asked him about it. He said, people on eBay are asking stupid amounts of money. He said, I see them for like $300 to $500 depending. I need to find one, but I'm going to insert a picture here and some information. I'm going to pause and I'll come back with more info.
Okay, then I will say goodbye.
Happy Friday, happy weekend, folks. I'm going to have maybe some MG stuff this weekend, depending if I get out there.
Okay, well, we're busy Saturday and it's snowing on Sunday, so you'll be cold. Okay, well, bye.
Bye. Okay, see you later. Okay, it's a Glycine 3825. It's the name of it was Ningaloo Reef, which is in Australia. I have a picture of it. I don't know. I'll put a picture of it right here. So that's it. If you know of someone, if somebody out there has a Ningaloo Reef they want to sell, I want to buy. So let me, if somebody finds one, and I'm not talking about the ones out there, I can find it on eBay, but I'm not paying $1,200 for a watch I'm not going to be someone's payday. That's not going to happen. So yes, they're on eBay, but if somebody out there has an Ningaloo Reef and they don't wear it, please let me know. And that's it. Okay, happy. That's it now. Bye.